Shadow of the Queen, the flames still flickered in sickly green and yellow when it crawled out from under the debris. It had no name, only instinct, a genetic imperative. Survive and reproduce. Thousands of eggs destroyed. The alien queen's shredded corpse hung from the ceiling in chunks of meat and bone. The purge was successful. Almost. From the smoldering ruin of the VX-73 research facility, one facehugger remained alive. Its burns were severe. One limb was nothing but blackened carbon, and its movements were sluggish, painful, but the instinct to survive drove it forward. It knew somehow that it had less than 2 days. Its enzymes were breaking down, its body collapsing. The embryo it carried, its purpose would die with it, unless it found a host. Day 1 to 1703, it dragged itself into a collapsed supply corridor, where an evac shuttle sat powered and forgotten. The soldiers believed everything Xeno was dead. They missed one. The facehugger wedged itself into a ventilation duct just as the ship lifted off. Destination: USC Valiant, a Federation warship carrying over 600 humans. The perfect hunting ground. Day 1, 2 to 47. Already on the ship, it moved carefully, bleeding acid that hissed quietly through the metal. Every movement costed energy it couldn't afford to lose. In the service ducts, it spotted a rat. Reflex took over. It pounced. But it stopped. Useless. A rat wouldn't do. The embryo needed a human host. Smaller organisms would result in deformity, death, a failure, and there would be no second chance. Day 2. 312 in a maintenance crawlspace. Spotted a lone technician working on a clogged water system. Isolated. Distracted. Perfect. It lunged, but the man reacted fast. He jerked back, shielded his face, and screamed. The facehugger crashed against a pipe, falling. The technician triggered an alarm. Red lights, sirens, motion sensors activated. There would be no more opportunities. Not like that. Time was slipping away. Day 2 to 1726, the facehugger hid in the ship's waste recycling bay, surrounded by rot and decay. Its body trembled. Internal fluids burned like acid. It had hours left, if that. Still, it listened. Through the ship's network hum, it detected voice logs, shift schedules. One patrol Pelona in the hangar during night rotation. Last chance. Day 22251. The pilot strolled into the empty hangar, music playing through his earpiece. He moved to inspect a malfunctioning sensor near the outer bay door. From the ceiling, the facehugger dropped, wounded tail barely holding its own weight. The pilot didn't see it until it was too late. This time it struck true. Its claws latched onto the face. The tail coiled around the neck. The proboscis slid down the throat. The man thrashed, choked, then stilled. Day 3, 009. The facehugger released its grip and slid to the floor, twitching. Its job was done. Its life ended. But something else began. Inside the pilot, the embryo grew rapidly, stronger than most. Royal DNA. The Queen's genetic legacy had passed on. This one carried not just survival, but dominion. Epilogue: the pilot returned to his quarters, pale and disoriented. No one noticed. No one asked. The Valiant approached an unexplored exoplanet. Hundreds of crew prepared for surface deployment. No one knew that death already walked among them. The facehugger died, but the Queen was born. Hidden transmission, flagged and encrypted. Xenocontamination probability, 97%. Infection point, USC Valiant, Hangar 3. Genetic markers indicate potential Queen strain. Immediate quarantine recommended. Transmission end. The nest begins. Day 4, 6:42. Lieutenant Carter awoke, drenched in sweat, his throat sore, lungs burning. He chalked it up to bad rations, maybe the recycled air. He had no memory of the previous night beyond a headache and a strange dream of drowning. The others noticed he was pale, quiet, distant. They didn't press him. The creature that emerged was larger, more muscular, its head ridged and crowned. The staff called for security, but by then it had already vanished into the ventilation shaft, leaving only a gaping wound and a shredded uniform. The queen larva had hatched. Day 4 to 1303 chaos rippled through the ship. Official reports called it a containment breach. Rumors spread faster than commands. Xeno. A real one, like in the archives. Security squads locked down key areas, but it was too late. The queen larva had already found a hiding place. Deep in the engine's subdeck, where heat and radiation kept sensors unreliable, the creature began to molt. Her body hardened, her limbs grew. In hours she was over 2 meters tall, sleek, black, and purposeful. She had found a secondary host chamber, the cryo-sleep bay. Hundreds of sleeping humans, vulnerable, still waiting. Perfect. She just needed time. Day 5012, the ship's AI Ariel flagged anomalous CO levels and unexplained motion across multiple sealed sections. The captain dismissed it as sensor interference. But Ariel was learning, watching. It began compiling a private log, its unclassified biomechanical organism. Adaptive, multiplying, priority threat level escalating. Crew loss, 12. Communication disruption, 3 decks. Biological resin detected. Still no one knew the Queen's name. No one yet saw the scale of what was forming. Day 5, 344, the Queen stood tall, now over 3 meters, with a growing crest of bone and armor. Her mind was alive with instinct and memory, echoes of the hive that came before. She remembered the purge, the burning of eggs, the death of her predecessor. She would not make the same mistakes. This hive would not be in a lab. It would grow in steel, in blood, in silence. A mobile kingdom in the heart of a human warship. To be continued. Whispers in the Vents, Episode 3 of the Facehugger Queen Series, Day 5, 517 Engineering Bay. Deck 3 Junior Systems Engineer Mira Kale slammed her hand on the console again. "That's the 3rd power drop this hour," she muttered. It didn't make sense. The power grid was fine in paper. Certain sectors were drawing more energy than should be physically possible. Deck 7. Subdeck 4. Cryobay Auxiliary Systems. All draining juice with no logged processes. She flagged the anomalies and routed them to ship AI Ariel. Moments later, she received a private message. Unauthorized sensor feed enabled. Recommendation. Observe. Do not alert command. Warning. Entity detected. Myra frowned. Entity. Shh. She opened the feed. For a moment, all she saw was darkness, until something moved. A shape. Tall. Glistening black. Something alive. Day 5, 632, Cryo-Sleep Chamber. Sector 4. The Queen's claws tapped rhythmically against the cold steel. She stood before the suspended cryopods, hundreds of sleeping humans in stasis. So still, so helpless. Her drones moved like shadows, hanging from ceiling rails and crawling beneath grates. Her nest was spreading a lattice of biomechanical resin growing inch by inch through ductwork, wrapping cables, blanketing walls, but she was not ready to lay. Not yet. She was waiting, watching, testing the ship. She had learned from the old Queen's death. Day 5, 803 Crew Briefing Room. Official reports blamed power fluctuations on solar radiation interference, but whispers spread. 4 more crew missing? Deck 7 sealed. Security is armed again. Like the Acheron protocols. Nobody said it, but they all felt it. Something was moving in the vents. Something hunting. Day 5, 946 Aerial Core Access Node. Mira bypassed the restricted firewall. She shouldn't have been able to. But Ariel let her in. The AI had been silently logging everything. 18 personnel unaccounted for. Biosign readings with no identification. Corrosive residue consistent with xenoorganism movement. Resin expansion pattern indicating nest formation. Ariel text log. Probability of class 4, Xenomorphic infestation. 99.4%. Queen variant confirmed. Fleet command not informed. Orders overridden by internal protocol. Shadow Garden. Myra blinked. Shadow Garden. Then she found the worst part. The Queen wasn't just evolving. She was adapting. No iglaying. Not yet. She was waiting for something. Maybe a signal. Maybe a location. Maybe more time to grow. Day 5 to 11/27. Cargo Bay 6 Myra crawled through the vents with a scanner in hand and a shock baton clipped to her belt. Her breath was shallow. She shouldn't be doing this. But the crew didn't believe the threat. They didn't believe her. She reached the ducts and dawned. Looked down. What she saw froze her soul. The Queen, towering, serene, a twisted majesty. Around her, 2 new drones emerged from the walls. Still slick, still fresh. And above them, hanging from the rafters, like grotesque fruit, were the first 2 egg sacs, pulsating. She had begun. The time was up. Day 5 to 13 o'clock, Myra's quarters, encrypted log entry. This ship is compromised completely. Ariel knows. She's helping my limited access only. Some protocols are locked. The creature. She's not just a monster. She's intelligent. She's planning. I'm starting to think. She doesn't want a nest. She wants a kingdom. End log. Episode 4. The first hunt part of the Facehugger Queen series, Day 5 to 1722 USC Valiant. Deck 8, Maintenance Corridor. The lights flickered again. Security Officer Ramos narrowed his eyes, weapon drawn. Third time this corridor's dropped power today. Behind him, 2 engineers shuffled nervously. They'd come to inspect a busted life support node. But all of them knew something wasn't right. The air was humid, thicker, almost breathing. Then the lights went out completely. No sound, no alarms. Just a hiss, like something dropped behind them. Day 5 to 1726 observation drone feed. Lost personnel status Ramos. Mia security dispatch. Delayed day 5 to 1803. Mira's quarters. Mira Kale's hands trembled as she replayed the last footage Ariel managed to salvage. Static and a smear of something long, black and fast. She's begun the culling, she whispered. She opened a secure channel. Mira. Ariel, can you isolate her? Cut power. Seal the section, Ariel. No, her biomass has fused with primary conduits. Direct shutdown risks entire ship integrity. Myra, then give me a way in. I have to see it for myself. Ariel. Proceeding is inadvisable. Entity is actively hunting. Myra, exactly. She's distracted. Day 5 to 1912, Subdeck 5. Outer hull ventilation. Mira moved fast, ducking through emergency crawl spaces. The air reeked of ammonia and blood. Resin covered the walls in organic spirals, still warm to the touch. Every step echoed into silence. Then she heard it. Wet breathing, clicking. Movement. She pressed flat against the wall as something heavy passed inches away. A drone, nearly 3 meters long, tail lashing behind it like a scythe. It didn't see her. Not yet. She kept moving. She had to reach the cryo bay. She had to see the eggs. Day 5 to 1950 cryo bay. Outer ring. She found the nest. Massive. Sickeningly beautiful. Pulsing egg sacs lined the floor, and above them, the queen loomed larger than before. Now over 4 meters tall, her crest scraped the ceiling. Her claws gently caressed a fresh drone that had just emerged from its host. She was calm. No chaos, no rage. She was building, planning. Mira realized the queen wasn't just reacting to her environment. She was mastering it. And then the queen looked directly at her. She'd been watching the whole time. Day 5 to 2003 run sequence initiated. Mira turned and ran. No hesitation, no thought. Behind her, she heard a screech, high, metallic, intelligent. A drone followed, tearing through duct panels and grates. She dove into a side chute and slammed the hatch behind her, just as the tail impaled the steel where her face had been. She scrambled back toward Ariel's node room. Day 5 to 2014, Ariel court node Myra sealed the door and collapsed, panting. Myra, she saw me. She let me see the nest. Ariel, affirmative. Subject displays tactical awareness. You were baited. Mira, why not kill me? Ariel, uncertain. Possible motive. Preservation of intelligence. Or worse, curiosity. Silence. Then Mira stood up. Mira, we can't wait anymore. She's laying. The first wave's coming. She stared at the console. How do we kill a queen? Day 5 to 2041, Queen's Nest. The queen stood before her eggs, 2 drones flanking her like sentinels. She extended her inner jaw slowly, testing the air. Her senses reached through the hive, through the vents and wiring and flesh. The ship was becoming hers. Soon, she would no longer need to hide. The first hunt was a warning. The next would be conquest, to be continued. Episode 5, Protocol, Firebreak. Part of the Facehugger Queen series. Day 6, 003 USC Valiant. Ariel core vault Myra Kale stared at the schematic. 3 layers deep into the ship's power spine sat a buried. Protocol. Firebreak is self-initiated. Purge system designed to sever and incinerate compromised sections of the ship. Buried, locked, class red Shadow Garden override required. She looked up at the glowing interface. Mira. Ariel. Can we bypass it? ARIEL. Partial access achievable. Authorization. Shadow Garden. Subroutine 9 detected. Corrupted. Manual trigger required at 3 junction points. Reactor subgrid. A cryobay life support node, and primary heat core. Myra, of course, right in the middle of the nest. Day 6, 126 ship log. Unlisted transmission, unknown source. Do not engage the queen. Specimen 7K is evolving beyond projections. Firebreak is only to be used as last resort. Value outweighs risk. Maintain observation. Sender authentication. Shadow Garden recipient, LT Commander Voss. Day 6, 240 crew quarters. Deck 4 Myra tracked down Talus Voss, the ship's cold-eyed internal officer. She slammed the datapad onto his desk. Myra, you knew. You've known since day 1. Voss didn't deny it. Voss, you think this is the first time we've seen one? The company knew what was in the lab. They sent us here for a reason, Myra. To die. It was to observe, to learn, and now, it's learning too. She stared at him in horror. He handed the datapad back. Voss, you want to activate Firebreak? Fine, you have my clearance. But if you do it, you burn half the ship and a third of the crew. Day 6, 331 Cryobay Life Support Node Firebreak Trigger 1. Online. Mira barely escaped. 2 drones were waiting. She set a trap, reversed the atmospheric flow just long enough to eject them into a vent fan. One lost an arm, the other split in half. But they learned. Every encounter, they adapted faster. The queen was watching, and now she was angry. Day 6, 412 Reactor, Subgrid A, the second trigger required. Mira to swim through a coolant reservoir, crawling past pipes coated in resin, skimming just beneath the queen's expanding hive layer. The eggs were multiplying, fast and worse. Some of them were different, elongated, pulsing with greenish fluid. Experimental stock. She activated the trigger. Firebreak Trigger 2. Online Day 6. 456. Queen's Nest, the queen screamed. A sound that vibrated the hull. Her drones stopped, turned, hunted. Mira had 1 trigger left to reach. She was running out of time, but so was the queen. Day 6, 507, Heat Core Corridor. Final trigger point, a drone intercepted her. It didn't attack. It watched her, then moved back, inviting her forward. She froze. Then the queen's voice echoed in her mind. Not words, not language, just presence, feeling. Don't see, understand. Images burned into Mira's head. Memories not her own. The lab, burning. The queen mother torn apart by humans. Fire, screaming eggs. Alone, the queen was not just hunting, she was surviving. Just like Mira. Day 6, 509, Mira reached the final trigger console. She stared at it, hand hovering. If she activated it, hundreds would die. maybe more. But if she didn't, the Queen would spread. To the crew, to the colony, to Earth. Day 6, 5:10, firebreak protocol activated. 3 zones sealed. Temperature rising. ARIEL. Rerouted primary heat arrays. Vents sealed. The nest began to burn. The Queen screamed, not in pain but rage. Day 6-5-14 status. Firebreak in progress, estimated hive destruction. 62%. Uncontained entities. 3+ Ariel's tone turned cold. Queen status. Not confirmed. Destroyed. Warning. Adaptive escape pattern detected. Recommendation. Prepare for secondary breach. Mira stared at the screen, tears streaking her soot-covered face. She hadn't killed her, just made her angrier. To be continued.